We're back.
Yeah, to their dismay, we're back, yes.
Episode 6 of the Commercial Sales Chats
Numero 6.
featuring Victor Antonio.
And Ed Donahue, who you obviously know.
There you go. So before we get started, let's look around a little bit. And now I do want to make one disclaimer. So the tie I have on, somebody busted my chops on the last broadcast. This is the tie that was, Victor likes it, but somebody else said, what kind of freaking tie are you wearing? It's the tie we were going to wear if we went to Austin for President's Club that got canceled in the COVID year. So in celebration of my trip to Austin, Victor, I'm going to Austin on Monday.
Okay.
So I said, well, I'm going to dust off this tie. So I'm going to Houston and San Antonio, so I may wear my kind of Southwestern themed tie.
All right.
Some people didn't like it. Maybe
I'm having a hard time following the logic. So you're going there on Monday, but you need to wear it on a Thursday first before you wear it on a Monday.
Yeah, I was trying to change my tie, but that doesn't make any sense. Who you see out there?
Yeah. I don't know. By the way, you sounded a little Swedish or Norwegian here. Gordon Morning Orkin Pros. Yeah, for sure. You betcha, Gordon Morning.
That's that old time. If you haven't in the chat yet, hit up the chat with your favorite sports team. It's like the coolest time of year.
Yeah.
Baseball playoffs are going on. NFL football's kind of getting warmed up. College football's crazy. You know, hockey started. NBA started a couple nights ago. Like, it's the perfect time for a sports fan. And again, these people know I don't watch TV. I only watch live sports. So I've been plopping my butt down in front of the TV quite a bit watching live sports. My favorite team is the Cleveland Guardians.
Cleveland Guardians.
Yes.
Sounds like a movie or something. I don't know. It sounds right. Anyway, let me see my favorite person out there so far is Tanner Lowry. He looks like he's a NASCAR driver, right? Got the petty glasses on. Look, man, I'm about to hit that curve real hard as I close out these deals. Way to go, brother.
That's awesome. I see Brian Sellers.
Brian Sellers.
From California. He's back on.
I just like his last name. I see Christina Lucero out there. I wonder if she rolls the R when she says it, Lucero.
Oh, she's saying that?
You say, are you that person that has perfect English and then you get to your Spanish name and just the accent kicks in?
Is
that
shook you off.
Christina Lucero.
There's Sam Burke. So I got to tell you this, right? So there was a really good football game on Saturday. It was Tennessee versus Alabama. And
Roll Tide.
I don't particularly care for either team, but it was one of the best games I've ever watched. And I watched it from start to finish. But I guess when Alabama wins, they get in the locker room and they start smoking cigars.
Stogies.
The kids, stogies.
I like it.
And
puff, puff.
So the Tennessee region is combined with Alabama, so it's the Tennessee/Alabama region. Okay. So they're kind of back and forth a little bit before the game. Well, after the game, there's about half a dozen of them cats from Tennessee. They posted pictures, blowing smoke. They took selfies, blowing a big old stogie. So, first question I had is, are they paying for the tobacco fee on our insurance? I'm guessing they're maybe not. But at the end of the day, the Alabama cats are saying, well, we're going to get you again. So, just great stuff going on. Who else you got out there?
I like Hayden Holmes. Hayden Holmes getting hydrated, saying, let's do this thing, man. He's got the rock going on, drinking. It's like he's ready to make calls, like, let's get off this. I need to go make some calls right now, go close some deals.
There's Penny Salazar. I'm going to see Penny in a couple of days. Looking forward to it, Penny.
All right.
And we're going to talk to them folks at HEB, huh?
All right.
Amen.
Who else is out
Dave
there
Peraza.
bouncing around? Let me see. Got some good people out there.
Lots of camera shy folks.
Yeah, Robert Garcia's not really paying attention. He doesn't care what's going on. He's doing his thing.
Andrew McIntosh putting up big numbers. I see Adam Humphrey, Kendall Harmon. Good
Phil Thorne has decided to turn on his camera. Way to go, Phil.
Amen. And of course, Gordon's here.
Gordon's
here.
Has he been doing anything good lately?
I don't know. If you ask him, he is. But,
I don't know.
Hayden is looking pretty sporty. I just noticed that.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good out there.
I don't know how you chase rats around that white jacket, but you figure that out.
I like these guys, man. All right.
He takes it off. Maybe it's Tyvek.
Let's do this.
Want to get going?
Let's do it.
So let's talk about some results from September. We'll wrap that up. We'll start with some kind of overall results as a company, and then we'll take it from there. So commercial sales for the month of September, 6% over plan. Just again, this beat just keeps going on and on and on and on. That's a 14% increase over last year.
Nice.
Just continuing the pace. Year to date, commercial sales through 9 months, another great story. 2% over our aggressive plan and almost 14% ahead of last year. So they just continue to ring the clock.
Even with the downturn, the pandemic's over, it's still going.
These folks out there, they ain't worried about it. I mean, it's just happening. And
are the folks on the West Coast pulling their weight?
The folks on the West Coast are certainly pulling their weight.
By the way, tell them what you did to me.
All right.
Tell this audience what you did to me, which was wrong.
So Victor has a tendency to take shots at the folks on the West Coast. I saw Mr. Tinsley on the call. He's an RSM out there. But residentially, he just beats the living daylights out of them, saying they're not on all these lists. Right. So I went out to the West Coast to hang out with Kevin and his residential teams and a couple of the commercial teams. And the boys and the gals in the room said, get that Victor on the phone. and darned if we didn't FaceTime Victor, and they gave you the bejesus, didn't they?
Yeah, you can say bejesus. Yeah, they gave me the bejesus. Yeah, they weren't kind, and it was unexpected, so yeah.
He woke up, I think, out of like a dead sleep or something.
Was it Roy that was?
Roy Aligato.
He was really spanking me.
He was leading the charge. Yeah,
he was.
But no, all good. Hey, on the national account side, I mean, I think it's fair to share. I see a couple of our national account reps. I see Larry on there. National account sales were just smoking in September. You know, I promised you that we were lagging behind national account sales plan, all through the year, because we had two monster months early on in 2021 that really kind of put us behind the eight ball the way that we budget. And I promised my boss that we'd get caught up. Well, before the year was up. Right. It didn't take that long. We got caught up in September. So we're on plan on all our commercial angles. Wow. We doubled our true national account sales. The business that the national account team brings, we doubled them in September. Wow. And the team sales, the part where 70% of our national account sales, as they say, are sold and generated by the folks in the field, right? The technicians, the account managers, the service managers, building those up. I mean, that's the secret to our success in national accounts is how everybody works together. Right. And those sales increased. The national account team sales in September increased 35%. So, wow. So just a killer story across the board.
What are they doing differently? Like, what do you think they're doing? If you were to look at the data, what do you think they're doing differently?
We're going to touch on it a little bit more here, but I think our folks are more readily engaging with their national account reps, and they've identified the secret to these preferred vendor opportunities. Okay. We're going to share next a list of the top 16. We had 16 folks generate more than 75,000. Actually, it ended up being more than 80. I call it the 75K club, but we had 16 folks last month in September. Individual account managers get paid on more than $80,000. Right. And just going down the list, 6 or 7 of them had half of those sales generated from national account team sales working with the NAMs.
Sweet.
And
that's what you
the
want.
cool thing about that pays you all just the same amount of money.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So should we kind of cut to the...
Let's roll the film.
Let's roll to the mountaintops. Stormy, let's show them who's on top. Whoa.
Yeah, nice. Well done.
So a quick story about Mike Candler, the guy with 224,000. So last month during the broadcast, he's blowing up my phone, right? I met him at President's Club, and we traded contacts, and he's blowing up my phone last month in September. Ed, I sold 200,000. And I said, Mike, I don't count it till it starts. Right. And you get paid on it. I said, just wait till next month, and he was right.
He killed it.
$224,000. He's over 435,000 sold for the year started. Right. So that means he's making 20% commission. Yep. So 220. Nice. Wow. I can't even do that math. It ends up pretty close to 50 grand for a month.
Yeah, that's nice. 44,000, something like that. 45, 46, something like that. He's doing well.
Yeah, just outstanding.
Yeah. Are they getting anything else?
I don't know. I wish I had his job. I mean, I wish I had his pay.
By the way, we got to shout out number 2. I think it was Bosemi.
Jordan Bosmany.
Bosmany. I was close.
Yeah.
I was so close on that one. Good for him.
Jordan already has $200,000 with Wynn residential properties.
Okay.
Starting in D.C. this month, so he has a potential of crossing the $300,000 mark. He's not on. He was on the last call.
He's cranky.
He's got a chance of crossing that mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, just down the list, I think what always impresses me is that the spread. You know, we talked
Right.
about it in the first broadcast. Where they're from everywhere, right? I mean, you got folks from L.A., you got folks from Northern California, you got folks from Boston.
Right.
You know, we got folks from all across the country. You got the folks up in Seattle and all them states in the middle.
Yeah.
16 winners, 10 different regions.
I got nothing to complain about.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, the story's just the same, right? It's never, ever, ever been the Orkin Pro. It's always been the Orkin Pro. It's never been the land. So no matter where you're at, you can make this happen, and you can make $40,000, $50,000 in a month.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Love it. Great numbers. Great numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you got to share on that one?
No,
I mean,
I just have a question for Omar Mendoza, who's out there. Omar, just say hi to me. There you go. There they are. How's it going out there? Good? Yeah, we see you. Just in case you're wondering, we see you.
They're
Okay.
tag teaming us. I like that.
Yeah, they
Watching it in a group.
Yeah, okay.
Watching it with their
All
teammates. Super cool. Yeah, I don't know that I have anything else to add to that other than I owe some money. Right? So as you know, Victor walked me into paying off on these prizes.
Yeah.
And I promised an Amazon gift card for any of the reps that went over a certain amount.
Crack open that wallet, Ed. Crack open that wallet.
And we started with, if you went over $85,000, I would give you a $100 Amazon gift card. So, Adam, Jesse, Anthony, Billy, David, and George, tonight in your email inbox, you're going to find a $100 Amazon card from, he's going to say it's from him, but
You're welcome. By the way, you're welcome.
We're not in
There you
his
go.
wallet. The next level was $100,000, or if they got paid on $100,000, we upped the ante to a $200,000 or $200,000, a $200 Amazon gift card.
Yeah.
Woo! Almost got in trouble.
Yeah.
Because a couple of these cats would be saying, "Where's
Very
my
nice.
$200,000?"
Cool.
There we're talking Robbie, Nathan, Jason, Kyle, and Jordan. $200 gift cards in your email box tonight. And then Mr. Candler,
I did that.
crossing that magical 200K barrier, he's going to get a $500 gift card in his email tonight.
You don't know how much that pays him. When we're not on the air, you don't know how much that costs him paid. That's right. Give it the money, Ed.
He walked me right in, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what does a guy that
Well
just
done.
made $50,000 need a $500 gift
Free
card
money,
for?
free
But
money.
free
Good
money.
for you guys.
Amen.
Good for you guys.
Amen.
Way to go.
No, outstanding. I mean, again, just the results that continue to pour in. I just want to thank all of you, individually or as a group. What's going on commercially for this company is just fabulous, just fantastic. All the stuff that's going on with Rentokil and Terminex announcing their merger last week. They're in a state of flux right now. So if you've got any of those customers, it's time to strike. It is absolutely time to strike. I got half of them beating down my door wanting to come work for us. So get after it and chase the competition that way. And as I like to say, punch them right in the throat, Victor, and cut their liver out and take the business away.
That's a little violent, but okay.
That's really how I feel.
I'm not going there. That's just a little wrong, man.
Hey,
Look, Matthew Bascom just loves that. He's like, yeah, go in a rip. Dude, you guys are animals. Who are you people? Ray Wu's just sitting back going, yeah, I think that's a good thing to do, Ed.
Awesome.
All right.
Hey, the last time we were together, last month, we promised that we would, Victor and I would make an attempt to kind of introduce how to block objections. And we asked for you to participate in the chat last month and share some objections that you would like to see us try to tackle and go one-on-one with. What we got really was kind of a mixed message, right? So here's the chats from both of the broadcasts. So we keep all this. And the chats, really what came out of the chats with all the highlighted ones here, you can't see that, but really what we ended up with is kind of two what I considered two buckets of different objections. The first was like pre-call, pre-appointment objections. Right, to where, they were more around trying to get appointments. And I'll rip through a bunch of those. We've had the same guy for years, had Terminex for 10 years, been using the same guy forever. I've used Ecolab for 10 years. We like our technician. We've had the same company for a long time. We do our own pest control. I don't have any problems. We do it in-house. All these kind of things. I had Orkin before and you failed me, right? All that kind of stuff. Even a family member does it. Somebody put that in there, right? I don't know how you get around that one. I've never figured that one out. But that was 5-1 what y'all pushed in the chat. and when you talk about blocking objections, maybe you can address this better. They are more during a proposal or during a sit. I think a lot of these 5-to-1, again, the count, 5-to-1, they were coming in.
Right.
We can't get in the door. So,
right.
So I don't. We're going to kind of flip the deck on you for that reason. And the other reason we're going to flip the deck is, over the last month since we left last, I've had the opportunity in 3 different markets, out on the West Coast, up in the North, and out on the East Coast, to participate in whatever you call them, some call block sessions, right?
Sure.
Where we sit down and we spend 50 minutes trying to book appointments. And I was kind of taken aback at some of the groups are relatively new.
Right.
So I'm going to be kind. Some of the groups are relatively new, but they didn't really know how to react to some of the objections they were getting.
Right.
And they weren't having much success. Right. And I asked one of the managers that was in play, kind of running the show here. He said, well, what's the acceptance rate? And he said, well, if we get 2% of the folks to commit to an appointment, then that's about what we've been averaging. Right. And I'm like, I don't know that I would do much of that 2% endeavors. Right. Because it's not fun to do. So,
but explain that. I think that's a good point you made earlier. Explain why your philosophy behind, if you have a 2% call to meeting ratio, why that may not be the best use of your time or money.
Yeah. We know one thing. Y'all are good salespeople. The challenge commercially has always not been how to make them better salespeople. Right. It's always been how to get them in front of more folks. Right. If we can roll you out there in front of 2 or 3 new folks every day, we're going to hit home runs. You're going to hit home runs. So it's not really that. It's not the hurdle. It's how do you get more successful at that? And I think some of the approaches that we were using was, trying to get a free inspection or let me come out and do an audit of your pest control. I think some of that stuff give them the customer mindset. When you understand that these folks are pure hunters, they may get a handful of leads a month, right? But if they're going to make their bones in this business as commercial sellers, they got to self-generate appointments. Talk about the mindset when you're. Remember, these folks didn't call us. We're trying to get an appointment with them.
Gotcha.
Talk about the mindset of the customer.
Let's do that. So I'll rewind the tape a little bit to make sure we're clear on what Ed is really highlighting. Last time we got together, we talked about blocking objections. Now, blocking objections really fits in the area where you're actually doing the walkthrough, doing the presentation, and talking to the customer, right? You're there already. You're on premise. Let's call that on premise. What we found through the chat, what we were getting wasn't really questions about blocking objections during a presentation. We were getting the pre-meeting stuff. In other words, while we were making the phone call, and that was the big aha for us, like, oh, okay, so these guys are struggling more on this side of the fence than actually inside. I should say inside versus outside the building, so to speak. So when we're trying to get into the building, in other words, get that meeting, let's keep in mind that the brain is naturally resistant to change because it's lazy. Our brain's lazy, right? It tries to minimize the amount of energy we use. What does that mean? Customers don't want to switch. Because even if we go in there talking about our features, our benefits, our advantage and gain, the customer's thinking in their mind, they go, yeah, I've heard that before or something similar. They're thinking about all the effort required to make the change. So that's the first shift we have to understand, that they're looking at the downside, the 90% negative side of actually making a change. When we're making these calls, what we have to keep in mind is that we're going to get these objections. What we have to train our people to do is to, again, here comes the phrase, lean in the direction of the objection. I want you to kind of just memorize that. Always lean in the direction of the objection, which simply means no matter what objection you get on the phone, that's the exact reason why we need to get together. So again, Ed, give an example that you gave earlier. That was really good.
I'll do a couple of them, but I think one of the things I took away from my visits and even your notes in the chat was the fact that maybe we're chasing the wrong thing. Maybe let's do this one first. Then we'll work on blocking the objections. The price is too high, all that kind of stuff after we get in the door. Because once we get in the door, so I think about some of the scripting that I was hearing and some of what I was hearing was they were looking for free inspections, doing this, doing that. I think ultimately at the end of the day, all you want to do, whether you're calling on the phone, sending an email, sending a letter, sending a text, communicating, reaching out to get that first appointment, we have to have the understanding that they didn't call us.
Right.
They already have somebody. It's certain. We're not top of mind. I've used the analogy all my career that Walmart spends more money on toilet paper for their employees than they do pest control. So the Walmart folks and all the folks that you're trying to get in touch with, you're not high on the priority list. You think about trying to get an appointment with the guy or gal that's running a hotel. Embassy Suites. We're about $200, $250 if we load a whole bundle up. They got budgets that are thousands and thousands of dollars. So we're not that important.
Right.
It's not making a lot of noise right now. They didn't call us.
Right.
We're begging for a place to go. And I think what we have to remember when we approach it is we have to anticipate the resistance.
Correct.
We have to anticipate that we call, we walk next door, we walk in, that it's going to come, and you almost have to be waiting for it, almost kind of laying in wait to hear any of these, right? And then, I've had the same guy for so many years, the example you used, Victor, that may be the very reason you and I should spend 5 minutes together. Do you have it now or do you have it later? I think that's one. The one that we've shared and spun before is a second source of supply. Spin that one a little bit for them. It's coming,
Yeah.
They say, oh, I already have somebody, blah, blah, blah. I'm happy.
Yep. That's usually the
95%
line.
of your calls.
I'm currently happy with my current supplier or vendor, right? To which you say, and again, knowing what to say in the moment is the trick. And if somebody says, I'm happy with my current supplier, you should just say, again, lean in the direction of the objection. I'm happy that you're happy with your current supplier. But let me ask you a question, Mr. Customer. In business, isn't it always good to have a second source or an option? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, yes, of course it is. That's all I am. And just that, let's keep in mind that just by me asking that question, Ed, I took control of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think for years, I've tried to use kind of the approach on that one where, being the second source of supply.
Right.
I try to set the client up on a pedestal, right? I'm saying, obviously, that's super cool. I'm happy for that. Typically, people don't get to the positions that you're in running a place as big as this without having a backup source of supply, but without having backup suppliers. Who's your backup source of supply for pest control needs? And I promise you, I've used that line, and this is no exaggeration, thousands of times. And I've never had anybody yet say, I have one. They just don't have one.
Right.
Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I want to spend some time with you. Do you have time now, or would you like me to schedule it again? I think those are two pretty dyed-in-the-wool approaches. I
want to emphasize something, Ed, because I think it's important. And again, we're giving you off-the-cuff scripts here, but at the same time, they're very effective. And too often, we don't have those, on the ready to say in the moment, and that's when I think it matters the most.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it in the first broadcast where we talk about the trust, right? So, so if you stumble or bumble when they say they have the same company, some of they were relatively new. In one of the groups that I saw, I think it was up north, they were relatively new salespeople, and they just threw the towel in when the customer said they've had somebody for 10 years. And so I took them offline, and I said, hey man, come talk to me. Let's talk about that. What could you have done?
Yeah.
He said, well, he said, well, I'll send him my card or I'll send him some information. We don't want to do that. We want to stay in the game.
Yeah. You said something during the break. So if you don't want to talk about this, let me know. I thought it was really interesting. You said that when you went into the bullpen, if I can call it the bullpen, where all these different salespeople, new salespeople were, that management was there.
Yeah. And
you said, hey, let's get out, let these, talk about that, because I thought it was really fascinating insights you had there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love what they were doing, but so I'm standing there. There were like 8 or 9 salespeople in the room, and they're calling away, and like all the managers, like the branch managers and the sales manager and myself, were just kind of hovering over them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so much pressure. Let alone trying to pick up the phone and call somebody off a list that you don't have any understanding of what's going on. That pressure added with all these clowns standing around trying to figure out what I'm doing right or wrong was way too much pressure. So I just told the guys, I said, let's get the heck out of here. Let's go talk about something else. Give them 50 minutes to do this by themselves and see if it increased the number of appointments, because they weren't having very much luck doing the appointments. And it helped a little bit. But I take it back, and I shared this with Victor, and maybe I shouldn't, but when I wouldn't have succeeded in that environment because I don't want people listening to me. I know there's value in me listening to you and you listening to me and having that kind of group call setting environment. But as a professional prospector in my day for 17 years, trying to book appointments as an individual producer, when we had our call nights, I always found the service manager's office, and I said, boss man, Jay, can I use the service manager's office? I want to make my calls in there, and then I'd pick. I was, as Jeb Blunt says, I was fanatical about filling up my days. So think through that when you go through this. But I think it's more. I think it's more being comfortable that when you get it, it's like, I was waiting for that, baby.
Yeah.
Come to Papa.
That's when you know you're there.
Yeah.
But I thought there was something else you said was interesting. You said when there were other people listening that the new people don't, they're kind of like scared that people, what to say because other people are listening in. And one of the things we have to do when we train salespeople for the first time when they're in the bullpen making these calls is to say that it's okay to listen to other chatter, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out your own voice and how you want to say it, and then get comfortable with that. And one of Ed's things here is that you've been hitting this note hard, is that you got to have a little bit, be relaxed and have a sense of humor.
Yes.
You hit that point.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about that, right? Let's think about a cold call, right? So I don't want to just limit this to the phone, because I mean I met a guy 2 weeks ago out in L.A. that, I mean, my man is one of them old-fashioned door knockers, right? And he's successful. You know, he don't want to sit on the phone. He thinks it's crazy. I can go out and I can be on 40 doors every day, and he does it, and he's successful at it, right? So, but what I'm talking about there is using humor. I mean, think about, you know, either on the phone, you know, Victor, hey, it's Ed over at Orkin. You know, I've been waiting for your call for like 3 years. I've been in this job for 3 years. You haven't called me yet. I was just wondering what's going on, right? You know, using humor that way, walking into a place and saying, you know, I've been waiting for you guys to call us, but you haven't called me yet. Having fun and enjoying what you're doing, because if you're not having fun, you probably shouldn't be doing it. But try to blend humor into it. And that was one of the takeaways that one of our stars came away from last broadcast.
You know what? You're like, you know, you're triggering me in a good way. That I'm wondering if it would be worth, you know, our time, or as I say, us, our time, and that is that if we can develop a list of, I don't want to call them one-liners, but openers, or things that, you know what I mean?
Sure.
If we had like this list of things that people could say to kind of, you know, conversation starters, I should say it that way.
Amen.
That if we had that, that'd be powerful. By the way, speaking of conversation starters, I just want to highlight, Eric Downey pointed out, I've been reading Eat Their Lunch, and that's by Anthony Iannarino. That is a fantastic book. He has a lot of twist of phrases, conversations in there, so I would highly recommend that book, Eat Their Lunch by Anthony Iannarino, a real good friend of mine. The guy is solid. He's the real deal.
Amen.
Yep.
Just a couple other approaches that, you know, that make some sense. I mean, you know, when you get that area, I've had somebody, when, I get it, I love it, I dig it, you know, I understand that. When's the last time you really took your pest control service out to bid? You know, in the times we're living in today with prices skyrocketing, you know, when's the last time you shopped them to keep them honest? And I think that's one of the lines that you use.
Yep.
Another one is to switch it up. Well, you know, I get it. I'm tickled that you're happy with your current supplier, your pest control. But what I really called to talk to you about and spend a few minutes with you, if you can give me some time, is to talk about how we've been able to help hotels just like yours train their staff. That seems to be a constant churn these days with the employment, you know, dilemmas we're all faced with, on how to spot bed bugs, early, so you don't have an infestation. You just have an occurrence, and switching it up on them. You know, I didn't call to talk to you about doing your monthly pest control. I called to offer you some services that we have that have addressed small fly issues that a lot of folks in your in your situation are experiencing this time of year.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that's.
By the way, what I love about that is that you catch the potential client on the other side unawares, right? If they're coming at you, I don't need pest control. I didn't call about that. I called about this. Yeah. And that creates this side conversation. I like it. Somebody referred to it here. Kevin Tinsley said like an icebreaker. Something similar to that. But yeah. I love that, by the way.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think that, you know, you can blend in a little bit of block and objection with the humor, right? You know, I've been waiting for you to call. You haven't called, Bubba. You know, what's going on? I'm just curious why you haven't picked up the phone and called me yet. So
I love that.
So I think those are a couple. I think we need to stay focused on the goal. You know, a lot of the scripting and a lot of the calls that I saw where I'd like to come out and offer you a complimentary inspection and whatever line, a free audit or whatever we're doing, alls we want to do. What's the goal? It's not to get a free inspection. I just want to get a chance to go nose to nose with you. Yeah. I want to say hello. I want to introduce myself to you. I don't want to give you a free inspection, because if you pick up the phone and say, Victor, I'd like to come give you a free inspection, your mind is, what the heck's a free inspection? What's an audit of my pest control? I've never had one of them.
Right.
Now, the curious person may say something, but the other guys and gals are like, I ain't got time for that.
Yep.
You know, how did you get through to talk to me anyway?
Yeah.
You know, something happened on my end that you shouldn't even be talking to me.
Yeah. I wanted you to emphasize something you mentioned earlier also, that we should use these seasonal changes to talk about different issues.
Absolutely. You know, springtime starts popping, you should be talking about mosquito. I didn't call to talk to you about pest control.
Right.
I talked to you about, you know, mosquito reduction services.
Winter comes in, what do we talk about?
We're talking about rodents.
Right.
So interesting. I was going to share it in the end when we do our wrap up. You know, what's going on next week across to all of our commercial customers. If you didn't catch the note yesterday, all of our commercial customers are going to get get an email introducing them to the Orkin exclusion services that we can use this time of year for rodents trying to come in, right?
Gotcha.
And you get into some of these exclusion things. I mean, and Katie barred the door, the dollars.
And by the way, when we're, and I'm asking the question because I don't know as much what these guys know, but if you're a new person coming in, if I'm a manager, what I want to do is train my new people on, all right, this is the season, this is the topic, right? Yep. And so that's all scripted out. Yeah. So do they do that?
I think most of them do a pretty good job of the awareness of the season.
Right.
You know, the seasons of pest control and that kind of thing, and staying on target. You know,
conversation.
Some of it forces itself, right? You know, this time of year we get bees and wasps. You know, we get that kind of stuff going on. We get rodents coming in. You know, come springtime, the mosquitoes are getting busy. All that kind of stuff. But booking appointments is the challenge. It's prospecting job one in my mind. You know, if we get you in front of 2-3 folks a day, you can make Mike Candler money, right? If you can see a couple of customers and new customers every day. What I want to do is I want to stack the deck in your favor, and I want to increase the odds of you booking an appointment, be it over the phone, be it face to face, via text, via email, by reintroducing preferred vendors, right? And I'm just going to highlight a couple. So the Aimbridge Hotel Group, Victor, is a group of hotels they're all different kinds of brands. They're Marriott's, they're Hilton's, they're Hamptons, they're all the brands, but Aimbridge Hospitality manages 1,200 of these. Believe it or not, they have access, all the folks out there have access to the addresses and the locations of all 1,200 of those. In addition to having access and having a list that you can call off of or chase off of, there's an introduction letter from the Aimbridge folks that said, these Orkin cats, these Orkin pros are pretty good at what they do. We endorse them from a corporate front. There's a scope of service already built for all the Aimbridge locations. There's a catalog with all the ancillary services that they could share with the customer. Okay. There's a partnership flyer that says it's double branded, Orkin, Aimbridge, one pager, walk in the door, hand it to them.
Boom, stamp of approval. Bang.
There's an employee discount. Their employees that they can buy residential services from us at a deep discount.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
Cool. That is pretty cool.
So when we think about this, you know, I keep beating the drum of preferred vendors. I think y'all are crazy if you don't try to stack the deck in your favor of getting an appointment. I promise you'll have a much better chance of securing an appointment if you can go in with an approach that simply says, Victor, hey, it's Ed over at Orkin. I'm just kind of curious why you haven't taken advantage of the Aimbridge endorsed program for your location yet.
So what you're saying is, if I can put this in Georgia terms.
Put it in Georgia terms, baby.
I got a barrel. It's called preferred vendors.
Yep.
All I got to do is shoot the fish in the barrel, and I make my number. That's the same.
Yeah, and they're not layups. They're not waiting for you to come. They're not going to call you. But that's just one of 50.
By the way, just having that stamp of approval is big, though. That's huge.
And we have it for 50 customers.
Do we track how many, like if we got all the list in each region, do we track how many we've touched?
No, we do a crappy job at tracking all that stuff.
Okay.
We're just not good at it.
That's honest. That's honest.
But as a salesperson,
it's a little more honest than I expected, but that's honest.
I'd be tracking it in my turf.
But I mean, it would be, right? If I got a region, I'm tracking how many times did I touch these folks. Maybe put them on my list, 5 or 10 calls a week.
Put them in your CRM.
Yeah, CRM would be very useful.
That would be very useful.
Yeah.
So Aramark, again, all the same support materials for Aramark, 1,000+ locations. Same support, letters, endorsements, you know, all this kind of scopes, pricing. Best Western. Hilton Supply, we talked about it 3 or 4 broadcasts ago.
We did.
11,000 locations. The Vizient hospital groups, right? The GPOs. We have the best relationships in healthcare GPOs than any company in the business. There are 100,000 members of Vizient with the lists available to all these folks on there, right?
What's our? That's really fascinating. What's like the close rate for it, like hospitals versus hotels? I mean, it's just
it all comes down to the individual. I know that's a crappy answer, but it comes down to, you know, who's carrying the bag.
Right.
Who's carrying the bag? We have a really good penetration.
It'd be interesting to figure out which actually closes more effectively, right? Is it the hotel industry or is it the medical industry? You know, and just to see.
Our biggest chunk of business, our biggest national chunk of business is in the hospital networks. Okay. The healthcare.
Healthcare. So it is the healthcare. Okay.
Absolutely. You know, so those are the bigger ones that are in there. But if you want to sharpen your axe and you want to get busy early, what did I say? Don't even repeat what I might have said because it didn't come out right. But think about these. If you're new and you got nowhere to go today, what if you swung by, like you filled out a contract that said, here's your monthly price, and you walked in to a Domino's and just handed it to him and said, Mr. Victor, just kind of curious why you haven't taken advantage of the Domino's corporate approved program for your location yet. And not say another word, zip it up and let them tell you. Most of the time you're going to hear, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, right, to see. Because it's pre-negotiated already, so there's no
Prices are
negotiation. It's already approved, so no red tape. It's just, did you even know about it? It would be interesting to find out. Again, data's always interesting, that if you did that 100 times to 100 different prospects on that list of those preferred vendors, how many would say, I didn't know that existed? That would be interesting data to
It
find
happens
out.
more frequently than they know about it.
If you were a finger to the wind guess, what percentage don't know about it?
70.
70%.
70.
Wow. That's high. Okay.
So think about that. Think about sharpening your skills, right? So you want to get better at booking appointments with these folks that we don't have a relationship with.
Sure.
Why not start there and kind of cut your teeth on that and make your mistakes there? So think about these. Could you pick up the phone and call every Dairy Queen in your turf? And say, hey, Victor, I'm just kind of curious why you haven't taken advantage of the Dairy Queen endorsed program for your facility yet.
Yeah.
How many of those are there? Have you picked up the phone and called all your Focus brands? Just kind of curious why you haven't taken advantage of the Focus brands endorsed program for your Auntie Anne's, your Carvel, your Cinnabon, your McAllister's. Just kind of curious, Victor, why you haven't taken advantage of the Papa John's. And again, we have all these support documents. We've got these relationships. The national account team has secured these. Every Wingstop, you know, can you pop into every Wingstop? Every Zaxby's, can you pop into the Zaxby's?
I'm there.
You know, just do a clear list of the ones you have in your turf. Have somebody do a scrub and make sure you don't call on the ones you have.
Right.
Yum brands, Pizza Hut, Yum, Taco Bell's, all those. Subways. I mean, there's more Subways in the country, I think, than there are McDonald's. So if you're looking to sharpen your prospecting tips and get in front of more people, these are almost like, I don't want to call them layups, but you can do this face-to-face. You can do it over the phone. You can do it via text. You can do it via email. Just staying active and getting after it. And I am convinced that you will increase your chances of getting that magical appointment where you can go face-to-face with somebody.
Do the managers typically have one person calling one industry vertical?
No.
Or across the board?
No, all these folks, other than a couple of the national account folks, they're in charge of their domain. They're in charge of their assigned territory.
Right.
They got all of it, right?
All of it. But
So
I'm saying, do they typically, I mean, because they're not here, so I guess I could ask you the question. I mean, do you attack them, you know, I'll go after hospitality, this vertical preferred vendors, then go after the restaurants, and then have one person assigned to do each, or do they go across?
They go across the whole footprint, but there are some managers that lead some campaigns that have them chase it. The Midwest does a lot of that, where they, okay, this month we're chasing Wingstop, and we're going to do it aggressively, right?
That's what I mean. Is it that type of focus? Because I think that always has, it has a multiplier effect. Because if we're focused on that vertical, if I can put it that way, that vertical, we become really good at that vertical. For that month, we become even better. So every day that we practice and try to hit that vertical, we become that much better. Next month, we switch to another vertical, hospitals, right? And then for that month, we bang away at that. We get better every day, as opposed to just jumping back and forth and all over the place. That's what I'm saying, if there's a rhyme or reason.
Yeah, and each of the national account preferred vendors has like a primer that kind of lays out the case. Like, you know, we're one of 2 approved vendors. You know, here's how many locations they have. Here's some talking points. So it's teed up in there really tight. I think that we just lose sight of it. All you got to do is go to My Rollins and put in national account preferred vendors, and all this list of 50 plus will pop up. I've just shared a few examples here.
Love it.
So that's the first step I think you can do to increase your appointments. Right?
And by the way, I want to emphasize what you said, because I really love that line. Why haven't you taken advantage of fill in the blank? That's a powerful line. That's a really powerful line.
I always tee it up with, I'm just kind of curious, right? And that would be the next step, right? So I kind of have this 2-10 kind of program that I've lived with most all my career and tried to preach. Preach is not a good word, but I've tried to share, to where you call on 2 national account vendors, you make 2 stops. You know, you go to any intersection of an interstate and you can find 4 or 5 of these five of these opportunities at the first stop. So you can walk in, like I said, with the contract, give them a contract, and say, you're just kind of curious why, Victor, you haven't taken advantage of the endorsed program. The other piece is seeing. You know, met one of the guys out in L.A. last week that, I mean, like I said, I think I shared earlier, he's just a crazy door knocker, right? I mean, the cat he decides he's going to this territory and he just goes out and, I mean, he wears it out. You know, I ain't got that in me, right? I mean, you know, they used to drop us off when I was a salesman before. They'd drop us off in the neighborhood and have us knock doors. I'd knock about 3 doors and, you know, I'd be trying to hitch a ride to get a cup of coffee somewhere, right? So, but think about this. If you're going to go out, and if we were going to go up to Alpharetta where Victor lives, if I hadn't been to Alpharetta, I'm sitting here in the Atlanta office, and I haven't been up to Alpharetta, which is 25, 30 minutes away in a long time, what would I do? If I tell my boss, hey, I'm going to go up to Alpharetta and do some door knocking.
Right.
That's the term that we use. I'm going to go up and do some door knocking. I'm going to do some cold calling. And I'm like, time out.
Yeah.
Time out. Find a jumping off point. Find a jumping off point. I have always been of the ilk, go visit 2 current customers.
Yep.
Right? Put them on your schedule. Hey, Victor, it's Ed over at Orkin. You know, part of my job as the account manager in the territory, in the neighborhood, in the geography, is that we just make sure we're still treating our customers right. You know, you've been a customer for 15 years. I just want to make sure with the quality assurance inspection that we're delivering on the promise that we made you 15 years ago.
Yep.
I'm going to be in the neighborhood tomorrow between 2 and 4. Can I catch you then? Does that work for you? Okay, good. Mark it on your calendar. I got it on mine. I'll see you tomorrow at 2. Perfect. So I go, right? I go to this current customer. I do a full-blown inspection. I do a killer inspection. Undoubtedly, I uncover some other opportunities to master the upsell. Victor Antonio is one of his better books. Master the upsell. Mm-hmm. I can upsell him some stuff. I may not even have an opportunity to upsell them. Maybe somebody sold them everything already. They did a good job bundling. But what I can get is a referral. I can get maybe possibly a video testimonial. Because what I'm going to hear when I go visit our current customers is they love our technicians. Our commercial cancel rate is less than 1%. Really? Our customers love us. They love us. You're going to hear that. And you just, can I capture you? Could you repeat one more time what you just said about Dawn? I'd like to share that with a couple customers I got kind of on the fence. Tell me what you just said about Don, the technician. Right. And then you do it that way. There's some other intricate ways of doing that.
By the way, less than 1% cancellation rate?
1%.
Dang.
1%.
That's good.
Commercially.
Commercial.
Yeah, residential is a little bit different story.
That's amazing.
But even if you strike out with all that, you can't upsell them anything. They tell you, go get out of here. I don't want nothing to do with all these extra services. You can even you can generate a proposal on a current customer. You can find something in there to generate a proposal. Right. And there's nothing like Grant Cardone says, you got to put the paper out, Bubba.
Yep.
If you're going to make a living, you got to put the paper out.
Yep.
Got to put the paper out. So even if all that fails, they don't give you a referral, they don't give you a video testimonial, they tell you, hit the road, Jack. Thank him. Walk next door. Walk out of there. Walk right next door and say, obviously I'm from Orkin.
Right.
Victor next door is tickled to death with the service we've been providing him for the last couple of years. Frankly, I'm just kind of curious why you and I aren't doing business. Not another word. Let them tell you. Let them tell you. And then you start into your, your objection overcomes or, those kind of things. You let that happen. Just kind of curious why you and I aren't doing business. Victor's just tickled to death with what we're doing next door. If we did you on the same day, we could probably get you a nice little discount.
Yeah, and I love the way you're laying this out, right? One is when you go into preferred vendors on the list, curious why you haven't taken advantage of this, fill in the blank. Or the one next door, I'm curious why we haven't done business.
They love
and again,
us next door.
what I love about that is that when, like these guys all know it because, they've been around the block, but we got to make sure that our new salespeople know those lines. We take them for granted because we know what to do, right? And I want to emphasize this because too often we know so much. That's the curse of knowledge. You know so much. We assume other people know that. So if you got new people on board, this is kind of a way of parsing it for them, right? Making it easy. Okay, when you're going to preferred vendors, let's work on using this type of script, right? Why you haven't taken advantage. Now, if we're just going to do a customer visit, do a follow-up, we want to use this curious. Why haven't we done business? And that's the way I like to train. Make it real simple so they can just kickstart very quickly.
Yeah, and you get away from that. This is one of my old man's terms, right? I don't even know what it means, gandy dance. He said, quit gandy dancing around. I don't know what. I still don't know what that means. But he would use, maybe some of your dads are using that too. Quit gandy dancing around, cut to the chase. And I think that's what it comes down to. If you walk next door to a current customer and you start, I wonder if I could give you a free complimentary inspection, blah, 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 get out of here. They know why you're there.
Gandy dancing.
Gandy dancing. Quit gandy dancing around and tell the customer.
We got a new phrase, gandy dancing. Stop gandy dancing.
He's happy. Why aren't we doing business? I'm kind of curious. Tell me. And it's not putting them on the spot. It's cutting to the chase, I think. And I think they appreciate it.
That's the same thing, but okay.
Yeah.
No, but by the way, it's the same thing, but it's okay though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We put them on the spot. You're being direct.
Tell me
asking,
why.
Yeah, tell me why we haven't done business, and let them tell you. It might be an interesting conversation. Well, it's better than walking away not knowing.
I've had the same guy for 10 years. You know, Victor, that may be the very reason you and I should spend 5 minutes together. Do you have it now, or would you like me to come tomorrow?
There he goes. That's what we train the sales force on.
And it's just got to flow. Does that make
By
sense?
the way, a couple of quick ones here. Somebody mentioned Jeb Blunt's book, excellent books. I love R. Gallego says, prospect, 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 practice, practice, practice. His 3x3 rule. I love that, man.
Amen. Anything else?
Man, we covered a lot.
Yeah, how about, we're pushing it. How about some real quick housekeeping for you? I don't know if you all read these emails that come out every day, these Orkin Pros. One came out yesterday that I thought was incredibly valuable. I've already shared with you the content that was in the one about every one of our commercial customers next week receiving an email introducing them to our exclusion program, our exclusion opportunities that you can sell them. So it's a pretty cool email. Go back. The email hit your inbox around 2:03 Eastern time. So go back, open that up. You'll see what the customer will see when they send them the email. Super cool. So, make your approach. Talk about exclusion services, whatever your market allows. It also had a link to the rattiest cities. If you haven't played that up a little bit and shared that with some of your prospects, you need to do that, the top 50 rattiest cities. And then there was one more that I teed up in my message last night, was to our veterans. Please fill out that. Take a few moments and fill out that testimonial. They want to recognize a whole lot of veterans, we've got a whole bunch of veterans that work here. It just seems to be a pretty good fit for, the way that we're wired and the way that our culture works, that we, veterans do extremely well here. So please take the time to fill that out. I know some of you don't want to blow your own horn or kind of brag, but please do that. Take the few minutes that it takes to do that. Is that just more disciplined, maybe? I think so. In the structure?
Structure, discipline, probably hard noses too, like, look, here's why you want that. Like that? Something like that.
The last thing I'll share with you, and I took a look at the numbers last night, and just kind of measuring up like who's in the window of changing their commission. And again, I'll mention it again. At the end of December, you dial in your commissions for next year. The guys like Candler and Bosmany and Sellers and Adam and all them cats, they're already dialed in for 20%. What you got to do to get the full Monty, the full load of your commissions next year on all your recurring commissions, is you got to get to $435,000 in net started sales by the end of this year, and then you will start January 1 at 20% commission. And there's a whole bunch of folks that have opportunities to get there. And every little bump that you get, once you get to $320,000 of started business, you move to 16% commission on your recurring. Every $40,000 thereafter, you bump it up a point. So you get to $440,000, you're making 19% for all of next year. So this is something that gets overlooked sometimes, and every time we come down to it, and there's like somebody that missed the next threshold by like $1,000, and I'm like, dude, you should have sold your mom something for $1,000, right? So,
that's painful.
But I didn't say that out loud.
Sell your mama something. Yeah. That's what you basically said.
Yeah, don't. And that's forever. So every point in commissions.
And that's forever.
Well, it's till next year. It resets itself every year.
Like, oh my God, it's like forever.
It resets itself every year. So if you struggle and you fall below that, they'll take you back down. We didn't do that over the last couple of years because of COVID. Right. But they will take you back down.
That's cool. That's fair. That's fair. I think
you dial your own. You dial your own deal.
Man. That's great. Great.
Anything in the chat?
No, not much. I'd just like to tell Fidel Rodriguez that it's been a pleasure looking at the top of your head and your forehead for the whole podcast there. So it's like all I see is this right here. It's like, yeah, what do you? And then Amber, for some reason, only likes to show a corner of her head. Well, there she is.
Oh, she's popping in from the screen. She's like coming in.
They don't think we see him, man. Do we see him? She's like, I don't want to be on the camera. I'm just going to get off the camera.
Dave Peraza's got to come out of the dark side. He needs to work on his lighting.
Good stuff, though, man. Good stuff. The numbers are great, though.
Yeah,
fantastic numbers.
Absolutely. Let's get out of here. We've kept them too long. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for everything you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you, guys.